Hey BookTube, Chelsea's Reads here, coming to you from a new location. Yeah, I actually moved downstairs to record this one, mainly because I have something cooking and I don't want to miss it. But I am starting to realize what a terrible location this is with the clock ticking behind me. The refrigerator just made some noises. We'll see how it goes. We'll probably move halfway through this video. So week 3, we're here, we're healthy. I hope you guys are too. Today's actually a little bit of a bummer for me. I was supposed to be getting on a plane in a couple hours to go visit my best friend. She lives in a beach town because next week was supposed to be spring break, and that's obviously not happening. So I'm a little bit bummed out, and we're getting through it. We're going to start this video, as always, with our book haul for the week. It's pretty small, and I think the book hauling, buying aspect is going to be slowing down. At this point, I have so many books, and I just want to read them, and I'm doing pretty good with that. So we're going to start with our book haul. And first up, I have Stuff Every Sushi Lover Should Know. It's by Mark Luber and Brett Cohen. I was a little bit disappointed in this book when it first arrived, because it's so small. Like, it's pocket size, it's about the size of my hand, to give you an idea. And it's literally what it says. It's just all about sushi. I am so sorry for all this background noise. Now my neighbor decided to mow his lawn. It's, nice by Michigan standards. It's 55. So everyone thinks it's summer. Anyway, Stuff Every Sushi Lover Should Know is just what it says. It's a pocket guide to sushi, and it tells you the different cuts of fish, how to make sushi, and it's actually pretty intriguing. I found this book on Amazon when I was actually looking up. They have one coming out called Stuff Every Tea Lover Should Know, and that's the one I actually wanted, but it was a pre-order, so I saw this and they recommended it, so I picked it up instead. And now that it came in, I don't know if I want the other ones, only because I really hate the pocket size. Is it silly? Yes. But it's just a preference thing. Like, it looks weird on a shelf, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I mean, my dad's a clock guy. It's clocks all over. But we'll see, because I think it's an interesting series. There's sushi, tea, and cannabis right now is what's out, and then there's Stuff Every Grandma Should Know and Grandpa, and those I'm not going to bother with, but the other 2 titles in this series, I guess you could call it, I might pick it up once I get over the pocket size. I'm sorry, it bothers me so much, but we'll see. The next book that I purchased was Be Still, My Vampire Heart by Carolyn Sparks. This is the 3rd book in the Love at Stake series, following the same cast of characters and vampires. This one being about FBI agent Emma. Yes. And she, a CIA, not FBI, CIA agent Emma, who's tasked with finding vampires, and she falls in love with the Scottish vampire named Angus McKay, who is a security guard for Roman, who's this big scientist in the vampire community. This is actually a repurchase for me because my original copy of this was so banged up that I wanted a nice new copy, because mine, literally the spine was so broken, pages were falling out of it. So I've already read this book. I love this series, but I've read these books so many times that I'm starting to have to repurchase them. And this one was in the worst shape for whatever reason, this 3rd book. So I bought a new copy. And I'll probably be continuing to buy copies because I'm going to be rereading the series soon, just because it's been so long since I picked it up, and I'm sure as I'm getting more into them, I'm going to want to buy better, newer copies, because it's always nice to have a fresh copy, especially with favorites, right? It's my logic anyway. Holy technical difficulties, Batman. Alright, we're back. The last book I purchased this week is Night Warrior by Jordan Scavone. Now, Jordan Scavone, this is his first YA novel. He has written 4 children's picture books before this one. And the technical difficulties continue. Okay, I think we fixed it. So this one is his first YA novel. It is about a girl named Veranda. So I'm assuming that's who this is, Veranda, who's a teenager. She's 17. Lightning strikes, and then she sees this man right here named Cillian. He's all bloody and battered, and he thinks like she's this powerful goddess from his world. But she knows Cillian because he's actually a character in the book she's writing. And he's come to life, and they're all afraid that the evil wizard, right? Finn Razorclaw, a deadly werewolf. Note to self, never record in the kitchen ever again. So, Veranda's afraid that the other characters from her novel may have come through into her world, including the villain of their story, which is Finn Razorclaw, who's a deadly werewolf and Cillian's arch-rival. It also says that she is joined by her best friend Bee, a protection gnome named Mo, and then they're trying to discover the secret of Cillian's existence and prevent some damage by powerful supernatural beings. It sounds pretty exciting. Given where I'm recording right now, I don't think I'm hyping it up as much as I actually am hyped to read this. The early reviews from other authors and stuff are pretty positive. This is an indie published book, so I don't think you really find indie published books at bookstores unless they're local or, you know, the author has an in. But it's a pretty decently sized book. The cover's really cool. The plot sounds intriguing, and I think it sounds actually pretty original, especially given the YA setting. So I'm actually really excited to see how Jordan pulled this one off. And that was really it for book haul. Like I said, it was really short. I only bought 3 books this week. So now we're going to get into what I read this week. Buckle down. So the first book that I read this week was Alpha by Jacinda Wilder. It is on my phone because I rented it from the app Libby. And it is an erotica, given the title and the cover of what you could see on the reflection there. I'm sure that's pretty obvious. So, oh my gosh, I had this on my TBR like forever, and I just discovered the app Libby, and it's a way to rent ebooks and audiobooks from your library. With everything being shut down, I thought it was a great option to kind of clear some of these old, dusty TBR books. So Alpha was the first one I read, and I did not finish it. I stopped at 25% because I just could not handle it anymore. I like eroticas. I like the thrill of them. I like the passion behind it. And, you know, deep down, I just really like a good love story. This was not good. I didn't even get to the erotica portion of the book. I just got to the part where they kissed, and I couldn't take it anymore. Basically, in the book, her name's Kiri, not Kyrie, even though it's spelled like Kyrie. Her name's Kiri. She has no money. She gets fired from her job when her boss decides to try to assault her or get her to give her a blowjob or him a blowjob, whatever. So she's fired from the temp agency she's at. And she goes home, and there's this check for $10,000 in her mailbox. And she gives some to her friend. She uses it to pay off all her bills, and everything seems to be fine. But it's not enough, apparently. She's like so far in debt that $10,000 didn't help her pay off her debts, pay her rent, give $800 of it to her best friend, and pay for her brother's school. And her mom's in a nursing home. So the next month, she gets another check for $10,000. And this happens for a year, and she ends up being $120,000 into this, of course, anonymous benefactor. And suddenly she comes home after a year of cashing these checks and using them to pay everything. She's got enough now saved up, all this other stuff, everyone's squared away. And this guy knocks on her door, and he's like, okay, I'm going to take you to my boss. So the guy coming to pick her up isn't even the guy giving her the money. So she's like, okay. Which was the first red flag, is that she was like totally fine with this random man coming to pick her up. So she flies to the other side of the world, apparently. Who knows the hell where this man was. And is immediately blindfolded. And then the guy who's been giving her the money shows up. And he was like, you can never take this blindfold off because reasons. And she, like, instantly super attracted to him. And she's thinking all these naughty thoughts about him. I'm like, girl, you were just kidnapped and told, like, blackmailed, saying you were going to sleep with me or else, or else you're done. Your brother's not gonna be in school anymore, your mom's not gonna be taken care of, and you're gonna be in big trouble. And the phone is now on vibrate. It's like the world knew I was in the middle of something and I had to have all these distractions right now. So that's why I didn't like Alpha, though, is getting back to the story. It was stupid. He literally, like, has to feed her himself because he won't let her put the blindfold on. And she's just immediately wants to have sex with him. And I know that's really problematic to me. I'm not into Stockholm and into blackmailing. And I read a lot of erotica. And I know it's really subjective, I guess. And it's okay to like those sort of things, but it's really not my personal preference. Like, I don't mind if you have, like, a story where they fall in love quickly, but this was, like, he kidnapped her and blindfolded her, and, like, the second she hears his voice, she wants to have sex with him, and I'm like, this isn't sexy. This is stupid. So that's why I did not finish that one. So the next book that I read this week was also a did not finish, and this time I made it a little bit farther. I made it, I think, 30%. And that is Through the Zombie Glass by Jenna Showalter. Jenna. I'm still not quite sure on how to pronounce her name. This is the second book in the White Rabbit Chronicles, which sounds like it's going to be a retelling of Alice in Wonderland with zombies. But it's not. I mean, the first one was even called, like, Alice in Zombieland, and it's not. So in the first book, Alice Bell lost her parents in a car crash, and it was significant because she saw a cloud shaped like a rabbit. She meets this group of people at her school. One of them's name is Frosty. The other one's name is Cat. And then there's the bad boy. We know this because he's constantly, about 4 times every time he enters a scene, has to be labeled as a bad boy. He's covered in tattoos. He's clearly bad. Bad boy Cole. And of course she falls in love with Cole, kind of, even though she's 15, 16, whatever. And in this one, there's another, 2 more people join them, Veronica and Gavin. They're all zombie hunters. Like, they can see the zombies and most people can't. The kind of cool thing that made me pick up book 2, even though I did not like book 1 very much, I think I gave book 1 3 stars, 2.5 maybe, is they aren't like your typical decaying bodies. They're more like spirits, and they suck your soul out, I guess. They contaminate your soul. Something like that, along those lines. And then this one, they pull in Gavin and Veronica, and Alice is really jealous because Cole's spending a lot of time with Veronica, but Cole's jealous because Alice had a vision of her making out with Gavin, even though she doesn't know Gavin and she has no feelings for him. So Cole starts making plans without Alice, and he's like, I just want to keep you away from him because I can't stand the thought of you two together. And then he ends up breaking up with her. And the first thing she says to her friend, because her friend's like, oh my god, I thought you guys were really into each other. And Alice is like, we didn't even sleep together, not once. I have a lot of thoughts about how sex is portrayed in teen novels and YA books. Like, it's cool if you're portraying it in a healthy light, but I think when you're 16 and you're saying, when Cole walks in the room and you just have to rub your genitals all over him, like, that's not cool. It was really uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't want to read about 16-year-olds being so passionate that they can't help themselves. Like, I don't know if it's different when you're reading about adults doing it, but when you're reading about teenagers, I'm like, I'm a grown woman and I don't want to think about 16-year-olds getting it on. It feels pervy and it doesn't feel good. There was very few zombies in the first 30% of this book, and it's a rather thick book, so I got a pretty decent way through it before I quit. I don't know. It felt like New Moon when Cole broke up with Alice. It felt like New Moon when Edward and Bella broke up, and she was just like, how is life gonna go on? And it's like, girl, like, you're 16. You can go fight zombies without him. The fact that he broke up with her, though, like, right before she died, like, or right after she didn't die, she had a close brush with death, like, 'cause the toxin, like, affected her differently, and they didn't think she was gonna make it, and then when she, like, starts to, like, get out of bed, that's when he breaks up with her. Like, that was really douchey, and not, like, the good kind of douchey. Like, so this was a DNF for me. So I didn't start off the week very well with books. The next book I read this week was Women of the Galaxy. It's by Amy Radcliffe. This is a library copy, but I think I'm actually going to buy myself a copy after I went through this one. Of course, the lighting's terrible. There you go. So it's Women of the Galaxy by Amy Radcliffe. And there's 18 artists, I believe, that contributed to this book. Much like the title suggests, this takes a look at literally every female character in the Star Wars universe. So that's the women from the TV shows, from the movies, the books, the comics, they're all in here. Even if they were in one scene of Attack of the Clones, they are in here. Now, like, Rey, Padme, Leia, even Sabine have, like, 3 or 4 pages dedicated to the information about them. But, like, Arinda Price is in there, and she's got, like, a decent page on her. And with these 18 artists contributing, every character has a different artist contributing to their look. There's more than 18 characters in here, but it's decently sized. Leia's on the back. I loved the artwork in this. Like, seriously, I think that it's part of the reason why I want to buy my own copy, is because it was just beautiful, like, stunning. I'm trying to find one to show you that accurately depict. I keep pulling up to, like, the same artist, though. Like, here's one. Great detail. And it's just beautiful. So I definitely think I'm going to buy myself a copy because I really liked it. I think it's good for any Star Wars fan to have, especially the female Star Wars fans. So you can realize how much thought and effort were put into the female characters of the universe. And I am not completely up to date on the books or the comics, but I have read enough that I recognize the people. And I skimmed bits that I was like, wait, I haven't read this book yet, and I don't want to be spoiled. But they do reference all of that, and it was really cohesive. It was easy to read. It's not one that you can sit down and, like, dedicate a long time to, but I would read, like, 1 or 2 bios of the characters, and, it took me less than a week to get through, so I would definitely recommend this. I gave it 4 stars, I think, total, just because I'm really picky about what books I give 5 stars. But this was definitely a really good one. I really highly suggest it for any Star Wars fan out there. Another book that I read this week was What Janie Found by Carolyn B. Cooney. This is the 4th book in the Janie Johnson saga. The saga starts off with the face on the milk carton, and it's about a 15-year-old girl drinks some milk and sees, have you seen this kid ad on it, and she recognized it as herself when she was 3 years old. So of course she, like, spirals, freaks out, finds out she's a kidnapped kid, and that's the first book. In the second book, she actually meets the family that she was kidnapped from, and she realizes she doesn't really fit in there because, she wasn't raised by them, and they were all kind of weird and culty. The third book, she finds out her boyfriend Reeve got a job at the college radio show, and he was telling her story on air, like a soap opera. So she breaks up with him, and that was the third book. So this 4th book, her Connecticut dad, because she has 2 families, so the family in Connecticut are the family that took her in when she was kidnapped. Their daughter is the one who kidnapped her, but they didn't know that she was kidnapped. They thought that she was their daughter's daughter, their granddaughter. So in this book, what Janie found is a file in her Connecticut father's drawer. And it details that he's been giving money to Hannah, the girl who kidnapped her. He's been doing this for years, and he knows where she's living. So Janie convinces her actual brother and her ex-boyfriend to come with her to Colorado because Janie's dad had a stroke, so her mom's occupied with that. Her dad's out of the picture. So they're like, we're going to go visit my other brother at his college in Colorado. And Steven has a girlfriend. He finally tells his girlfriend about Janie, and the girlfriend's, like, obsessed. She's like, oh my gosh, like, when she comes, I'm going to ask her a bunch of questions. And Steven's like, do not ask her questions. Like, we just want to move on from this. But the girlfriend, for whatever reason, is literally obsessed and gets mad at Janie for not telling her secrets. And then you find out that Kathleen's dad's actually an FBI agent. So he's, like, telling his daughter, yeah, find out secrets about Janie. Like, why? It's like, I don't understand. Like, they know who kidnapped her. They reunited her with her real family. She's 15 years old now, 16 years old, 16 because she's driving. But, you know, it's been 13 years since the kidnapping happened. Why are people still, like, this obsessed with it? And so Janie had flown out to Colorado to, like, go meet this girl that kidnapped her, and then she, like, chickens out at the last minute and decides not to do anything about it. So this book was basically, it's not very long, but it's, the whole thing is, like, them concocting this plan of how they're gonna meet Hannah, and then her boyfriend being like, don't go meet Hannah, and then she doesn't meet Hannah. And then she's like, I know, this is my family that loves me. Like, why? Nothing happened. Like, Steven didn't make you go talk to the girlfriend's father. The girlfriend broke up with him because of it. And then that apparently made Janie realize that she has family that loves her. And she was being stupid. I did give this book 2 stars. I stayed up really late last night to try to finish it. Because I was hooked a little bit in the middle, and then when it fizzled out at the end, I was really mad, and I almost threw it across the room, but it is a library book, so I didn't. This week, I'm going to be finishing the Janie series. There's a novella that's, like, super short, and then there's a last book. There's a 5th book in the series. So I'm going to be finishing the series this week, and I don't have very high hopes for it, but, you know, I started it, you might as well finish it kind of a thing, but I don't recommend this book at all. It was awful. Now, the last book that I read this week, and why my read pile is so short this week, is because of this book, because it took me a lot longer than I anticipated to read, but it was another 5-star read. It's only the second 5-star read of this year, and that would be The Sinner by J.R. Ward. This is the 18th or 19th book. I think it's labeled as the 19th, but I think they're counting the half book as 18, making this one 19. But it's really good. It's part of the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, which is a series about warrior vampires. It's a pretty intricate world when you're this far in. I don't know how much detail I should get into without being, like, crazy about it, but these are some of my favorite books. I really like J.R. Ward. I like the thought that she put into the world building of this. I might end up doing a separate video just on Black Dagger Brotherhood, but this one, it was so good. Sin is the hero of this one, and he comes from the Band of Bastards, and he had a very traumatic upbringing to the point that he doesn't feel like he's deserving of love, and those are kind of like my favorite heroes, and those are like my favorite stories. Jo Early is a half-breed. She doesn't know that she's part vampire. She doesn't realize where she comes from, and she's trying to find herself, so of course that makes for an angsty romance, and I loved it. This book was not perfect. There was some pacing issues. Like, this is the book that kind of wraps up long-standing arcs. Like, the first villain that's been spanning these 19 books is finally been put to rest in this one. And she introduces the new villain. Like, at the end, like, the last line of this book is literally, like, the next villain has entered Caldwell. And it's cool because these are characters, like, from the first book that you follow throughout this entire series. You watch them grow. You watch their relationships develop. Just because they had a book and they had their happily ever after doesn't mean that they're perfect. They still have to work on things, even after all these years. Butch was the other plot line in this because he's part of this destroyer prophecy, Butch Vicious, and their Shalons, which is their wives. It was really good, though. And if you have not checked out the series, I definitely recommend it because it's really good. So that was it for me this week. Like I said, I'm kind of not in the best spirits right now. I'm not in the best spirits. This video was very traumatic to make, mainly because of all these distractions and background noise. And I didn't read very much this week. I don't think anybody watches these videos. Not that it matters, 'cause I'm really just doing this for me. It really makes me feel better to to record these and just kind of talk about it. It's my way of reaching out to a community of people, and knowing that I'm not alone in this quarantine, in this self-isolation period. So I hope everybody is healthy. I did get some bad news about a student at our school, and that's been weighing pretty heavy on me lately as well. So I've been definitely trying to bury myself into some books this week. And we'll see how it goes. I hope everyone is resting up, and I hope everybody's staying healthy and staying safe, and I hope that you're reading lots of good books. Make sure to reach out if you need anything, if you need any recs, or if you want to recommend a book for me that I can rent from Libby, because I've gone a little crazy. I put a bunch of books on hold there, and we'll see. I don't really like ebooks too much, but I'm on the train. Alright, see you guys later.